What's going on, guys? We are back with 0 Hour, and it is we're in the afterglow, if you will, of Aries 6. So we're getting you guys a recap episode out while it's still nice and fresh in everyone's minds. And we turn our attention ahead to what's going to be a busy summer. Tim Lloyd joined by the usual cast of cohorts here. Jeff Hobbs, my man Torres Finney, Justin Watson. Gentlemen, we're going to recap this bad boy. For what it's worth, for the next after 30 days, we'll be posting these fights on our YouTube channel right here, which we would like for you to do us the honor of subscribing to right now. Hit that notification bell, and you get updates whenever we post new content. We should be posting the pro fights from Aries 5 around here somewhere, so check it out. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and that would help us a whole lot to grow this bad boy. Then we can start bringing you guys live content here on YouTube. If you could get us to 1,000 subscribers, that would be nice. So that would be a nice goal for us to hit by the end of this year, and we can start getting some live stuff going on YouTube. Again, rehashing Aries 6. It went down this past Saturday night from the Camp Jordan Arena in Eastridge, Tennessee, Chattanooga, for the layman out there. And man, crazy night of fights. We were joking on the preview show so many times about could this be fight of the night? Could this be fight of the night? And I mean, wow, it would be very, very hard to pinpoint one fight of the night on this card. Let's get into it. Opening up, we opened up things with our tag team grappling bout. It was our guy Justin Watson down here teaming up with Corey Hansen. They were Team Boats and Hose taking on the Agogi team of the non-brothers in Hayden and Dalton Smith, Team Bang Bros. And it was quite the circus that I expected it to be out there. Some theatrics and a lot of fun. Ultimately, though, it was the Bang Bros getting the win 3-0. Justin, you were out there in the flesh. Looked like you guys were having a good time. Those Smith boys are very good.
Yeah, man, we had a blast out there. Those guys, like you said, they're super tough, always going for the submission right away. So it didn't take them long to find it. But like I said, we had a blast. That tag team thing is super fun. We had kind of game planned a little bit for it. Didn't have time to implement much of it, but maybe we'll get to give it another go around. But those things are fun, man. And if there's ever a tournament for that, man, Team Bang Bros would be they'd be a tough one to handle.
The gears are turning on some more iterations of these tag team events, and I'd like to see some slapping involved. We guess the teams would do some tag team slap grappling, man. I think that would be epic.
That would be epic. We were down for it. But
maybe you never know. Stay tuned, and we'll see what happens. Moving on to our one and only Muay Thai fight of the night. Super heavyweight action. It was Mr. Sean Morgan from Hobbs Jackson Wink taking on Curtis Bailey out of Team Phoenix in Hermitage, Tennessee. These guys went 3 hard-fought rounds. Torres, take us through it.
Yeah, man, that was really exciting. I mean, you're talking about starting the night off, with some action like that in the Muay Thai bout. Man, them two big boys went at it, dude. Highlight of the night for me was when in the third round for that fight, they both, one had put his hand on the hip, the other one did like this. Yeah. Then somebody said 30 seconds, and they just banged it out for 30 seconds. Had no wind left, just throwing number flurries. Man, those big guys went at it, but big time props to Morgan. I mean, 343 pounds, able to go. I mean, obviously it was going to be tough, we had to go 3 rounds like that. But man, I mean, I saw a lot of good positives. I mean, I saw him throw a spinning kick, The man was really athletic. Props to both of those guys, man. As time go on, man, they're going to have a lot of good things for them. I'm excited for them. If hopefully, eventually in the heavyweight division, you might have some guys right there. So those guys look good. Great fight.
Sean Morgan gets the win in that one, 29-28 across the board, all scorecards. Do you agree with that one, Torres?
Yes, I do. No question. Third round, first and the first and the third round was both Morgan. So I agree with that. 29-28. I got the same score. It was a good fight, though. Great. Really
another little quick takeaway that I loved about that fight, real quick, though, was after the fight was over, I don't know if anybody noticed, but it was really important to Curtis Bailey. His small son was his coach and corner man. He wanted him to be one of his corner men.
Wow.
And so after the fight, watching father and son in the cage and him teaching his son and showing him how to go over and congratulate my opponent and things like that and explaining to him why, it was so cool to watch.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, really good guy to work with. Both those guys, just sweethearts, really. And we're looking forward to working with both those guys again. That was it for the Muay Thai. We're springing right into the MMA at that point, and we kicked things off with a couple of highly touted debuts, as it was the first fighter ever from Team Militia, Tom Galicchio's team down there in Chattanooga, George Carpenter, taking on the debuting Troy Williams out of Hobbs Jackson Wink, a guy that we had been trying to match for a while. And Jeff, this one didn't go as long as what I expected. And Carpenter looked really good. Carpenter gets the first round, head and arm choke about 1 minute and 8 seconds in. Your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, like you said, I was excited about this bout. Thought that we would get a longer fight out of it. So I was kind of surprised it didn't early, because both these guys really look good and we'd heard such good things about them. But what a coming out party for Militia MMA. Like you said, and we talked about in the cage afterwards, the first ever competitor to compete under that banner on a show. And what better way to come out than with a victory? And, at that point to say my gym is 1-0, history, we're 1-0. But it was a beautifully set up head and arm choke. One of two head and arm chokes, I believe, for the night, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, but we've said it a lot of times, this 155 division has a lot going on in it. And if one of these guys can stay active, especially Carpenter now up one, he could quickly find himself in some really interesting big fights pretty quick. That's it.
He's a really good wrestler. It's going to be tough for a lot of guys to really be able to handle that.
His control on the ground was amazing.
Well, he's a moose at 155, man.
Yeah.
The guy's, you're not going to see many 155 amateurs bigger than that guy.
Nope. Solid.
Yeah. He reminded me, told a few people, he looked like a 155 version of Ian Stevens.
Ian Stevens, yeah, that's what we were saying.
That's good comparison. Yeah.
Moving on, we had our 185 fight, as it was Josh Booker from Agogi taking on Miles Dillahunty out of ATT Lima. Booker moves to 2-0 on this fight. Split decision, 29-28, 2 cards, 28-29, 1 card. This one was a great fight. This was our first one where things really started to kind of turn up. It was the intensity was there. These were on the prelims. That was it. When you get fights that good that early, I think it almost kind of puts the impetus on the rest of the card to try to match that and follow it up. These guys really put on a good one. A little bit of they weren't happy on the opposing side. They felt they got hosed on this one. I was super close when I watched it the first time. Wouldn't have had a problem with it going either way. I watched it back the second time, and I definitely had Booker winning it. Torres, what's your take on this one? You trained with Booker, of course.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely not going to be biased in this part, but I can see it the other way a little bit as well, but I thought they had made the right decision. I thought Booker was the right winner. It comes down to that second round. First round was Booker, really wrestle heavy. Did some things on the feet, but he took him down, controlled him a good bit in the first round. It shocked us a little bit. Obviously I talked with all my teammates after the fight, but it did shock us a little bit that Miles was able to stave off some of those takedowns early, and Booker, he really had to work for him. Then he really had to do more things when he got on the feet. Miles definitely took the stuff in the third round. He really took the third round, but the second round is what it came down to. I felt like in the first 2 minutes of that fight, Booker was in enough good control to where he was doing really well in that second round. Now the final minute, Miles did end up on top, and he did dominate that final minute. I mean, that ground and pound, you could have potentially thought, oh man, we could get a finish. So I can see why they might think, oh, Miles took that second round, because some people could say, oh man, that second round part was neck and neck. How much damage was Josh doing at the beginning of that second round? So I can see both ways, but I mean, that fight was so close, rightfully so. It was a split decision. Obviously, another judge saw it the other way. I agree, man. That was another one. I mean, talking about setting the tone, that was a potential fight of the night for me as well. I was like, man, fight of the night,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
far.
That's one that we didn't even really peg as such. So we knew it was
Yeah.
good, but it didn't get a whole lot of attention in the lead up.
And we say it time and time again. We talk about being hosed or a robbery. Yeah, if I would have read off 30 27, 30 27, 30 27, okay, now you were robbed. But again, at the end of the day, a split decision is one judge seeing one round differently. That's why there's an odd number of judges, for things like that. So, to be upset is one thing, but to claim that you were done wrong in some way or fashion it's
It taints what was a great fight.
yeah, it does, and it takes giving both the opportunity to give both fighters the props for putting on such an amazing fight for the crowd, that you have to even discuss things like that after a fight's over with. It just, yeah, that's the word, Tim, is it taints it a little bit, where we should have been afterwards going, man, that was awesome fight. Man, that could have gone either way. Instead, we're having to have, not heated, but just, having to have unnecessary discussions about things that are out of our control.
Right.
I wish at times people would remember, because we've all been there several times. We don't get, they don't give us scorecards. We don't get those. We're not keeping score.
Well, we got it. We got one of them on here that did. Justin, your take on this one?
Yeah, man, I saw the first two rounds for Booker, live, and then I rewatched it today, and I'm comfortable, happy with my decision. I think you could possibly even fight for a third round for Booker. I
I
think
said the same thing. I said the
yeah,
same thing.
I
Third
feel
round,
like
if you wanted to, you give it to him.
yeah,
Too, really.
yeah, but I feel like the third round, giving the third round to Booker would be like giving the second round to Dillahunty.
Yeah.
So I think you'd have to be looking for a reason to, I think you have to be looking at it biased in order to see it. But it was a hell of a fight. I mean, the thing is, it was so back and forth and so close that, being upset with it is silly. But in the moment, in the heat of the moment, everybody wants to win, obviously. So
Of course.
I think they'll probably watch it back and realize that we got it right. But even if they don't, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, like, I was saying to think of it like this, really good first fight for Miles. I mean, I think he's another guy in the 185 division that's going to be a problem. I mean, he looked good. I mean, for this to be his first MMA fight, he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. So I don't look at that as a negative. I mean, his loss was by a split decision to a really tough guy that, really good wrestler. So, I mean, Booker can take something from this, so as well as Miles. I wouldn't want to fight Miles next if one of those 85ers down in that division. Like, I don't want to fight Miles next. 0-1, he's a deceptive 0-1. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, 100%. Props to him. He put on a great performance. Props to Josh Booker. Found himself in some very, very bad spots and gutted his way through it. That's going to be the theme of the evening as we proceed with a lot of these guys. Speaking of taints, moving on to our next bout, it was Sebastian Grant with a first round submission win over Dustin Garrett via, I guess it ended up being an arm bar, a triangle to an arm bar. Justin.
Yeah, man, like all Dustin Garrett fights, we expected it to be fast paced. Dustin threw a spinning wheel kick and then shot straight for a takedown. Grant was able to get back to guard, threw up a triangle. Dustin fought it off for a while, and then ultimately Grant turned it into an armbar, and Dustin tapped. But man, this was a scramble. Grant was, he proved that his experience means a lot. 12 fights. When he got into that position, he knew what to do and slapped it on there and got the job done.
All right, and from there, of course, we had one more fight left on the prelim portion. It was Josh Mackey, the second representative from Tom Galicchio's Militia MMA team. Mackey took on the debuting Tyrone Hilson out of Matrix MMA there, teammate of DeWitt Dixon, who we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But it was Josh Mackey getting the third round TKO due to strikes. pretty close first round. I thought Hilson accounted pretty well for himself for the first half of the fight, but then just he just kept having to like carry those takedowns and the weight of Mackey. Jeff, your take on it? It was Mackey getting the finish finally, pretty early in the third round, but he was starting to pull away.
Yeah, the first round. Thinking back, I mean, it was such a close first round.
Mm-hmm. He could have lost the first round.
Yeah. I mean, Mackey could have lost the first round. I don't obviously with it being a finish, we never saw any scorecards from the rounds that were judged. But I wouldn't have been able to call a winner in the first round just by how watching it live.
It was close.
But the second round, there was times in the second round where I thought it's about to be called. I mean, there was just some hammer fist and ground and pound, and Mackey's just so heavy on him. Even when maybe his position and posturing wasn't good, he was just such a massive weight on him. There was no budging him. And there was a couple times I really thought the referee was going to step in and stop the fight just with the massive hammer fists, which obviously took its toll because coming out to the third round, same pressure, same just heavy body weight on him. As soon as he got it to the ground, I think that was all that Hilson, at that point, he mentally submitted at that point. When he went to the ground, it was, I don't have it in me to fight this off, so I'm going to cover up. And that's when the referee stops the fight. So like you said, Militia MMA going 2-0 for the night, now 2-0 in their history, in the history of the gym. And Mackey had an impressive crowd there. This is really the fight where you heard the crowd. You heard it earlier, but I think it was because of the quality of the fights that they were seeing, not necessarily because they had a dog in the fight. They were cheering for the quality of the show. This was the one where this kid had dedicated fans there, and they got loud for him. And a great moment with his mom in the cage afterwards. She wanted in so bad. And he was like, no, mama, no. And then I was like, no, it's okay. It's your mom. Bring her in, Dad was cage side. Dad had snuck up and sat right next to the Tennessee Athletic Commission.
He did.
Because Matt, the lead commissioner, said, do you know who this guy is next to me? I said, that's Mackey's dad. It's okay. Didn't say
quiet, though.
He said he hasn't said a word. He's quiet as a mouse, and I didn't know what he was up here for because he's not cheering for anybody. So it was really great to see. It was one of those feel good moments. Watching Mackey have his moment.
And that was a solid fight.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Torres. I was actually going to go to you anyway. I was going to say, it looked like Hilson probably had some wrestling, too. From the way that he actually took him down one time.
He did. He took him down on the cage. He stopped some of the takedowns, and that was a solid fight. I mean, that was a little back and forth as well. So that was a good fight. It was a really good fight. I mean, I wasn't trying to pit a fight of the night, but that was one of those, like, man, that's when like you said, this card was like, man, so far, man, we don't have a lot of good fights already. So
how do you think Mackey stacks up in the heavyweight division, or do you guys see him maybe eventually being a 205?
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Was I know he's far from 205. 243 was what he weighed in at. I mean, he's a good way from 205, but with his height and a lot of that weight just kind of looked, I don't want to say fat or flat, but he had some room to tighten things up, I guess, if that's the PC way to say it. Yeah, the PC way to say it there, but is that too far of a jump to 205?
Well, I did look him up one time, and he wrestled at King's University in the 197 weight class. But that was a good bit ago, so, he probably could.
I also used to wear 32 waist jeans.
Likewise.
So I mean, he could get there, but I see right now so far in his amateur career, he'll probably be at the heavyweight division for another at least 3 or 4 more fights. So.
Or we find that cruiserweight division sometimes, don't we?
Right.
Yes.
All right, we moved on to the undercard portion of the card, and we had a 155 battle up next, fight that we've been looking to have for a while, and it was Anthony Bryant taking on Carrington Johnson, and this is a really good striking battle. I thought that it was a really nice return for Anthony Bryant. He'd been out a while, but ultimately Carrington's striking just Yeah, so sharp. Carrington really is a guy that seems to level up a little bit every time you see him. He's definitely got a lot of momentum behind him right now. Coming off this win, he gets a unanimous decision win here. Carrington Johnson does. Anthony Bryant, hopefully doesn't take as long in between fights again, because it wasn't so much a bad showing by Anthony as it was just like a really nice showing from Carrington. Let's go to Torres.
Yes, I agree with you, man. This was a really solid fight. We knew this was going to be one of the toughest matchups of the night, especially for a Gogi. And dude, I mean, Carrington Johnson did exactly what I was really expecting. The man was really good on the stand up, man. His striking looked crisp, and we really thought Anthony could hang him right there, and he could, and Anthony can. It's just Carrington was just so precise on a lot of his striking. Much more activity, very offensive. And like you say, Anthony hadn't fought in 3 years. So, sometimes that cage jitter, getting just right back in there, getting back in there with a guy who's been competing, pretty regularly. If he's not doing an MMA fight, he's doing a Muay Thai bout. So that guy's Carrington been competing, pretty regularly here and there. So that was a tough fight. And I'll tell anybody, man, Carrington is tough for any 145er, 55er that there is, man. I'll vouch for him, man. That boy is good. I mean, and people really don't look a lot at his wrestling, but he's a good wrestler too. Solid wrestler. And the striking you saw, man, he loves those head kicks, boy. And man, and he landed some really clean shots. But Anthony just had a tough outing. Anthony had a good showing as well. Anthony landed some good shots as well. So it wasn't no one-sided fight. It was just more of a really good performance by Carrington Johnson. And man, I'm excited to see him do a lot of fights. I was telling somebody at home plate, man, a fight that that could take my money would be like a Justin Jamar and Carrington Johnson, man.
Yeah,
I would
Striker's Delight. Yeah.
striking in that would be good money. But man, props to Carrington Johnson, man. Incredible fight. Incredible.
I would like to see. I think Anthony Bryant and Kenny Irwin could do a Killer Bees type thing, because I get those two confused so much. They look exactly like each other. All the they do. I was like, they could old school tag team and do the switcheroo with no masks, on.
Oh man, yeah, they hang out a lot, so sometimes it gets hard to do that.
Let's see. Carrington Johnson, yeah, you're right, Torres. I think he slots into a lot of interesting fights.
Yes.
And he has made 45, in the past as well. So if he were to dip back down to that 45 division, that title is vacant currently. And then, of course, we'll talk about that 155 here in just a little bit. Moving on, we had a featherweight bout. It was Tristan Kelly from North Georgia High Stand taking on Eric Lewis out of Alabama, Huntsville area. And a nice performance from Tristan Kelly. Round one, rear naked choke, 2 minutes, 25 seconds in. We'll go to Justin for your take on this one. An odd, weird start to this one. It's like both guys just kind of like stood there and like was going to make the other guy come to them. It was Tristan Kelly was, I guess, just kind of in that Zen mode until he wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Tristan is usually the bulldog type, where he's coming after you, and to see him just back up and kind of put his back on the cage there for the first, 15, 20 seconds or whatever it was interesting. And then kind of threw some leg kicks back and forth. And then when he exploded, he hit that double leg. And then it was just about, Tristan's control at that point. He was maintained good control, stayed patient, just waited for his opening. Was able to get that rear naked choke early. Eric Lewis is tough too, and Tristan made light work of him. I think he had a difficult weight cut, from what I heard. But
yeah,
it didn't take too much effect of him on him in the fight, because he got him out of there in the first round.
Tristan Kelly moves to 3-3 too.
Yeah, Tristan had 2 back-to-back wars. He said, "Man, I need to slow it down a little bit."
yeah. They can't all be Savon Canto fights and have a long career.
That's right.
A lot of damage taken that way. Tristan afterward approached me in the locker room, said he's going to be going to 135 now moving forward.
Ooh.
That should be interesting, because that 135 division, has got lots of talent in it. So adding Tristan Kelly to the mix, certainly makes a lot of very interesting fights.
Probably have to figure something out about that weight cut.
That's true.
He struggled to get on this one too, on getting to 45. You're right. That'd be very interesting to see what he does to adjust for another 10 pounds when those this last one was so rough on him for sure. He's a wrestler, I think, though. I don't know how low he wrestled out in Torres, if you know or not. Greg would probably know. I think
I
he
don't.
knew it. But anyway, let's see. On next, we had, speaking of bantamweights, but this is going in reverse because the winner of this one's moving up in weight. It says Brevin Sullivan gets the win over Cody Ortiz, round 2, rear naked choke, 2 minutes 3 seconds into it. We saw the new Brevin Sullivan's attitude, the maturation, yet still the swag at the same time. Nice round in the first round, actually. Cody Ortiz, I thought, fought very well but ultimately it was just like the volume from Brevin started to just kind of drown him, I guess, more or less in the second round. Both young bucks, 20 years old. These guys aren't even old enough to drink yet, and both have a lot of promise. Afterward, Sullivan said he's moving up in weight. Your take on this one, Jeff?
That part was surprising to me. I didn't. I know it took him a little longer to weigh in. He used his full time to get on the scale. I didn't realize, I guess, how hard his weight cut is. But I think I also hear that he's on that Patty Pimblett diet where he loves to balloon up after fights. He doesn't care to keep it in check after fights, and gets pretty heavy. So that was the surprising part of the fight. What wasn't surprising to me, definitely, was the outcome. Poor Cody Ortiz has been in there with killers. It definitely hasn't done himself any favors, except for the fact that he's getting a lot of good experience against a lot of tough guys. So, bringing it back down to, people are kind of at his level of training. We may see Cody Ortiz shine, with light competition, because Brevin at such a small record is, he's
a veteran still.
He's light years above his record just because of how early he got started at an early age. And let's not say that Cody Ortiz didn't have his moments. He connected with some really good shots in this fight. I wouldn't say stumbled Brevin, but it definitely stopped him in his tracks a couple of times and had to kind of reset and go, okay, I just got fucking hit in the face. He definitely had his moments, but then, like you said, the accumulation of punches, once we got to that point where the delayed reactions started setting in for Cody Ortiz, then you realize the damage was really starting to add up, because I think Brevin just hit him with maybe just a simple straight or a jab or something, or something that just had a little pop on it, and Cody Ortiz just stepped back like nothing was wrong, and then all of a sudden buckled. And it was that little second delay, and you're like, okay, these are starting to really have their toll. But Brevin mixed up a lot of good combinations, small combinations with low inside kicks and things like that, keeping Cody guessing, what's coming, and look good. Again, a very surprising post-fight speech. I'm always hesitant to hand him the mic. I did catch the coaches on the way out of the ring saying, keep it clean, keep it classy. And he said, I got you, coach, and he did. But like you said, Tim, it was not without the confidence.
Not a call out still.
The confidence, the cockiness was still there. It was just a PG-13 version of it. But I will say, Brevin, whether you guys heard it or not, I mean, I was watching him speak, and he got choked up for a second when he started talking about, the kids' classes that he helps with now, and kids looking up to him in the gym, and taking that a little serious. So maybe that's something just kind of hit home with him and resonated. And like you said, it's a maturation for a young man who has a lot of potential, but aside from the potential, he also has a lot of people that still want to punch him in the fucking face. So Brevin will not forever not have a long line of people looking to fight him. And that is good for us.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. And Brevin fan base growing, bit by bit. There was a nice little pop for Brevin this time, I gotta say.
I do the books after shows, and I'll tell you, there was a lot more Brevin Sullivan's name next to ticket sales than before. So What he's doing is working and it's building. But I don't think it's. At first, I would have said it's building because everyone loves a heel, everyone loves a bad guy. I tend to think it's building because he actually has some substance, behind it. I think it's building because people are realizing he's not just that.
Mm. And he's quite talented. He's very very well rounded fighter actually.
That's what I said. That's what I meant was they're not buying the tickets because he's a character.
Yeah.
They're buying tickets because they realize there's some substance behind him as a fighter. That he's got what it takes.
Yeah, Brevin is really talented. He like you said, he's been really teaching a lot of the kids here at Agogi now, been doing some classes. So he's really growing as a fighter and he's growing as a person. So you got to remember, he's only 20 years old. So he's getting there. He's getting there.
I mean, I've got a fan of his in my house, so now I've got to be careful. I got to be careful how much I pick on the kid because I got one now that thinks those are fighting words. If I say anything negative about him or
Zane.
Zane. Yeah, no negatives in this house when it comes to those two.
Up next, it was the return of Coach Hank Peppers, who took on Josh Schleusler. It was Hank Peppers getting the guillotine 56 seconds into the first round. Congrats to Hank on another win after having a bit of a layoff. Looked like he was ready to get back in there, calling for some tougher competition. There is some tougher competition we're starting to see surface around there, Torres. Your thoughts on this one?
Yes, this went exactly probably how I thought. I mean, Hank, look, a lot of people really haven't had the opportunity to really see how good Hank Peppers really is. He gives a lot of guys here, including me, some of our best rounds, man. He is a really, really good MMA fighter, and he just wants some more, hey, he said, hey, look, I feel like I'm better than, what, y'all have given me. Now, he's on, Hank can go now. Hank can go. He guillotines a lot of people. People don't understand he's a purple belt. He's been fighting for a long time. Probably haven't been competing as much, but he's been in the gym for a long time, way before Gogi got going. So Hank is good, man, and I vouch for him. He's ready for that tougher competition. So whoever you find for him, man, he'll be ready. Hank hangs with the best of them, man. So I'll be glad to see another Hank in there with a little tougher guy, but I think he'd be up for the challenge.
Most definitely. I'm excited to see what happens next there, especially in that he's kind of in that tweener stage. He's a big dude. First off,
yeah, he is.
Really big guy. I almost have a hard time seeing how he makes, dare I say, he's a heavyweight looking man, but he makes 205, I believe it's possible. So I think next time, this was a catch weight at 220, but I don't think that he planned. I've talked to them about 205 before. I feel like, so we'll see what happens there. Let's see. On to the next. It was flyweight fight. This one was crazy. This was just like one long highlight. Is Vincent Van Alstyne picking up the round one armbar over Bryce Warner, 48 seconds into the first round, but it was more or less all Bryce Warner up until that point. Warner looked very, very good. I didn't think his stock fell any in this loss. Whereas still Vincent Van Alstyne, though, continues to roll. He's now 3-0, number one contender. He'll be fighting for the belt next time he fights. We've got to come up with a suitable challenger there. But, one little mistake in this game can cause you the fight. So I'm sure that this is something that Bryce will learn from. He's so young still. Justin, this happened over there right in front of you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, man, this was a wild one. They came out. Bryce dropped Vincent pretty quick within 5 or 10 seconds. Vincent popped back up and then kicked Bryce's legs out from underneath him. Bryce shoots, gets a big slam, and then he's just on top throwing bombs, raining bombs down. Leaves his arm out for just a second, and Vince snatches it. Great wherewithal to be able to know where you're at in that position and be able to snatch that arm up and get the arm bar. Bryce's coaches obviously weren't happy. I think that they had discussed that right beforehand, but it's hard to do those things when you're in there. When you see that you about got a guy out of there, it's hard not to just throw everything you got to try to finish the fight. So I feel you. I agree with you that I don't think Bryce lost any stock. This kid's 18, 19 years old, and he's a guy that we're going to be seeing for a long time. And probably going to do some big things. But Vincent, onto a title fight next, and he worked hard. It was interesting. I haven't seen Vincent that small before. I've seen him, normally he walks around at 55 or so. So when I first saw him after weigh-ins, he looked like a totally different person. But it'll be interesting to see him fight for this title. Looking forward to that fight.
With the amount of heavy, accurate punches Warner was landing, props to Vincent for, like I said, having the wherewithal to stay the course and hold on, fish for that hand, fish for that arm, and originally, it was on. It must have been on there fairly deep because Warner, you could see he was going to try to lift him up, maybe slam him off him, but he was on there pretty deep on it. Let's see. We had next another fight of the night. Contender here. This one was another one that was really flying under the radar. We didn't talk about it a whole lot, but we should have been, I'd say. It was a 170-pound fight. It was Lucas Cox taking on Curtis Tompkins. Both those guys undefeated. Lucas Cox, Agogi, Curtis Tompkins out of Corey Robeson's Phoenix MMA in Hermitage. It was a second round head and arm choke, 1 minute, 40 seconds in. Lucas Cox moves to 3-0, but there was a lot going on in this one, Jeff.
Yeah, man, Lucas Cox is probably thinking, you all won't give me a damn break here because this guy he's thinking like, how all these other people get some nice, fights in the beginning of their career that he comes right out the gate, and he's had, out of 3 fights, I know he's had 2 absolute wars.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just grindy, exhausting fights to watch. I think this one went under the radar, though, because, like I said, Cameron Tompkins was only 1-0. His one fight was a Warriors Den show, in a real small town outside of Nashville. So there just wasn't a lot of eyes on it. I don't even think that promotion puts out any kind of videos of their fights afterwards. And so nobody really saw, what he was capable of. And I think even, Tim, what you saw wasn't what he was capable of because of the conditions he was fighting in that fight. But, man, it's just constant pressure. We talked on that pre-show about people who have plan A's and no plan B's, and they just keep with plan A until it works. And he's definitely cut from that cloth. He was just going to keep with plan A, and that is, I don't care how many times I'm getting punched in the face. I don't care if I fall. I don't care if I'm on my knees. If I'm on my knees, I'm crawling towards you to grab your legs and try to take you down. And the thing was, a lot of times it did. It worked. The transitions in this fight in sweeps and just where one guy's got control, and next thing you know, it's just out of nowhere, rolling over, and the next guy's got control. And you're thinking, oh, my God, the tables have just turned. If he stays in this position the rest of the round, and then before you can even say it, it's turned again. It's like, well, there goes that idea. It's not going to stay in this position the rest of the round. But the damage was wearing on Cameron. Those shots he was having to take to get his takedown, just eventually, caught up with them. And I get the second head and arm choke of the night here. I get both of them. So Lucas Cox is a machine when it comes to, the fight game here. He just, he goes until we're both exhausted, but he's always, it seems like here, this person is right, that he's got just that little, he's got that extra gear, that little extra something that separates them when they're in the trenches. 170, a 3-0 170 guy, Tim. Unfortunately, Lucas Cox, if you're listening to this, you're 3-0 at 170. It's not going to get any easier. You don't get to go backwards now. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be even harder than
I get the feeling he likes it in some sick way.
Yeah, he thrives off of it. I think he does.
He's a former Marine, man. Him and Frenchie, they all love that type of stuff.
That's why I was kidding around with Frenchie. The Marines, they always talk about being in the shit. And I think they love being in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will say we got so close to potentially seeing. At first, it was almost like a double knockout.
Yeah, they both dropped each other. Yeah,
I think someone got a picture of it too. I think I saw.
They're both like stumbled.
Yeah, they're both kind of arm out and head back.
And then when Cameron Tompkins got on top, we almost saw like a knockout from bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my goodness. And Caleb Miller like stepped in to give him the mouthpiece. And I was like, oh man. But
that was the time, Tim, when you thought that's right. I remember Tim saying I didn't see the mouthpiece. I thought Tim was like, did he just knock him out? Because his body kind of just
he did knock the mouthpiece out. Yeah, but I think like, whenever he I guess the referee kind of woke him up and put him back in, and Tompkins was ready to roll.
Woke him up to put his mouthpiece back in and rob poor Tompkins of the win, man.
Yeah, Lucas said he thought it was over, and he was like, oh, keep going. Lucas was like, oh.
That's sad that we're joking that he was maybe knocked out, and we.
So
that was a great fight.
3-0, man. You got to wonder, in the 170 division, Dustin Bailey, the current champ right now. Wonder how that kind of sorts itself out. Bailey obviously coming off the last loss, but did not lose his title. I don't know. We'll have to talk through it, but I would think that Bailey and Cox would be real good. It feels like it would
be a banger. That would
it would. And I love Dustin Bailey to death, but if you look at the loss to Guerrero's cut from the same kind of cloth that Cox is, with that zombie-like forward pressure, you gotta kill me kind of thing. So I don't know if I would lean personally. If I would lean Bailey, just he's got a great record. And he's a great fighter, by all means. But we just said it. Lucas Cox has got something about him that kind of Guerrero does too.
Yeah. Moving on to the main card, and we had our first of 2 amateur title fights. Crowned our first ever Aries bantamweight amateur champion. It was Earl McKinney from Striker Fight Center getting the first round rear naked choke, 1 minute 59 seconds in to the first round over Joel Winters. And this is as long as it lasted, it was still a lot of things going on. Winters close on a submission, very close on a submission, and the tables end up turning with Earl McKinney getting that win, bounces back off of his first career loss to Wellmaker, and didn't look like that loss damaged his confidence at all. In a very crowded 135 division, Earl McKinney, for the moment, Torres.
Yes, I agree with you. Man, good performance by Earl McKinney. Obviously at the beginning of the fight, Joel, he put the pressure early on McKinney, got him to the cage, attempted to take him down. I think he jumped for a Kimura, standing Kimura, and then once he got to the ground, a few transitions, and then Earl McKinney got to the back, and that's like I think the second or third fight I believe I've seen. Joel went, because Joel has fought Garrett Sharp, Andrew Sturdivant, and Earl McKinney. Those are all his losses, and I think all of them come by a rear naked choke. And I mean, once those guys to taking Joel's back, they finish him. And Earl McKinney took advantage of that, man. Earl McKinney's no slouch. I saw how he fought on Malcolm Wellmaker, and look how that happened. He lost to Malcolm, by a rear naked choke, and come back and win this title, by a rear naked choke. So really good performance there from Earl, man. He's a problem. He's a problem, man. He said he wants to be the best in Georgia and Tennessee. He's on their way up there, man. And props to Joel, man. I'm telling you, man. Joel's a tough fighter to go against, man. His 3 losses are against some tough guys. And hey, I don't care what nobody say. I am still down to see that Joel Winters versus Brevin Sullivan fight. But,
hey, that's what I was just about to say. Brevin called out Joel after his fight. It didn't go Joel's way. But I think there's still enough heat there to where we could still it's still a damn fine fight. By all accounts, in my opinion.
Think Joel will be willing to go to 45?
I think Riven said he'd meet him at 40.
40, yeah. I can see that.
The human side of me, though, I was heartbroken for Joe, man. You could tell how bad he wanted that. He was
very upset with that one.
Very, inconsolable for a little while after that fight. He'd been chasing that belt and that title fight for so long, wanting it no matter who the other guy was, and
probably felt like he was very close to getting it.
Yeah, absolutely. He had his chance, and he was hurting. So just feel for him.
Yeah, definitely.
So Earl McKinney with rear naked choke. Speaking of rear naked chokes, that brings us to our next amateur fight, our final amateur fight, as it were, the main event on the amateur side for the first ever Aries 155 lightweight amateur championship. It was Craig French taking on Justin Jamar, a fight that we were all stoked for. And if you were to tell me that one of these fights is going to end in the first round between the two title fights and the other one's going to end in the fourth round, then I would have surely thought you meant this is the other way around. But no, we ended up getting 4 rounds of awesome out of this one, and ultimately it was Craig French who got the 4th round rear naked choke 41 seconds in to become the first ever Aries champ. I'll just open this up for discussion all around for these last few. Man, what a back and forth fight! I had it 2-1 Jamar going into the 4th. He was really kind of had the momentum at that point too. It felt like he was kind of starting to pull away maybe, but French held course. Always dangerous, very hard to put away. He's like we said, like Lucas Cox. You're gonna have to kill this dude, before he's gonna stop coming. And I think Jamar was willing to if he needed to, but ultimately it was just like it's one scramble there where Craig had a very opportunistic moment that he snatched up, got the back of Justin Jamar in that rear naked choke. Jamar falls to 6-2, seemed to be in fairly good spirits afterward. Performed well. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of in that performance. That was maybe is still his best performance against a very, very tough guy in Craig French, who's very well rounded, and was able to withstand some real gnarly moments to keep coming for it. Guys, your thoughts on this one? Craig French now 155 champ. Do we see him defend it? Do we see him go pro? He was non-committal in his post-fight interview. I could see it going either way. I mean, he's fought tough guys already, and so I wouldn't have a problem with him going pro. Certainly wouldn't have a problem with him defending his belt either. And always like that. You guys, what you think?
I would say that going back on the fight, that if I had to pick one, this is my fight of the night, and
it was great.
This fight was nuts, man. This fight was nuts, man. I mean, the way Frenchie came out in that first round, for a minute, that was the game plan we had for Justin Jamar, to go in, take him down, try to exploit some of his ground game. And Justin Jamar, I will say, even though it was a loss, this probably was his best performance I ever seen. The way he was able to switch his feet in the striking exchanges. I mean, the man would switch step to a jab, come back with a cross, boom, and throw a head kick. His fast twitch muscles is just unreal, man. It had me like, I was giddy. I was like, man, like this is nuts how fast he was able to hit those punches and move and come back in and out. And Frenchie, man, he's a tank. He just take him, he just going back and forth. And Frenchie landed his shots back and forth, and he got. I mean, as the rounds kept going, man, it got harder for Frenchie to take down Justin Jamar. And at home play and after event, I asked Jamar, I said, why did you go for that trip on Frenchie? You should just stayed on the feet. You had it. I had it too. I thought it was up 2-1 as well. And he said he felt really strong in there. He said that's the best he ever felt. He said he felt his cardio was on point. And he said when he grappled with Frenchie, he thought he was stronger. So he thought, I'm gonna shock his system. I'm gonna try to take him down. And that obviously led to the ending. But man, I have to say, man, Justin Jamar looked incredible. Frenchie looked incredible, man. To be able to take some of those shots, that head kick he took, and be able to keep going, man, and just keep fighting. And man, that was an exciting fight, really exciting fight. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah,
Jeff, your take, or Justin, you guys got anything to add?
I had it also, same way as you guys. I think Craig came out the first round, hit the takedown, and was dominant there, and then just wasn't able to get it back to that in the second and third round. Justin Jamar is very dangerous, but you could also tell that you didn't see the same explosive, just wild stuff out of Justin Jamar.
It's like he was pacing himself for 5 rounds.
Yeah, he was pacing himself, and I think he also was. I felt like he was in the moment. I felt like he was just very aware of the takedown too. Go throw flying knees and jump kicks. It makes it a lot easier to get taken down where French had controlled him the whole first round. But it was just a hell of a fight, man. And another one of those where I don't think Justin Jamar stock drops any. I think he could still do whatever he wants off of this fight. But man, French's stock goes up through the roof. I feel like just showing the tenacity and listening to his coaches in the corner and being able to go back and re-implement the game plan and get the choke in that late in the fight. It's it's a big testament to how hard he's been working.
Yeah, just like we talked about with Bryce Warner, a lot has to be said about the guy who didn't come out on top in this fight because he looked so good. I looked at it just almost like we were talking about the Riven, the maturity, and it was a more patient Justin Jamar. Yes, that some of that probably had to do with a little bit of game planning, and after a first round where he spent a lot of time on his back, was maybe a little more hesitant throwing things. But I don't know. I watched it and just also saw a very patient fighter who knew what was on the line, knew that this could probably go deep rounds, and just wanted to be a little smarter about the way he went about it. And especially, going back to your corner after the second round and seeing how the tides had changed and how they had turned, and really felt he was in control. I sit next to Tim during the fight, so we kind of, give our imaginary scorecards to each other, and we both felt the same way. After 3 rounds, it was 2-1. And I just automatically assumed when round 4 started, I was already pre-thinking ahead that this round's going to go the same as the last 2. And then at that point, we're going into a 5th, and French is going to have a finish. I don't know about you guys, but I don't mind a fight ending at a minute, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes in a round, but there's just something about when you come right back out of a round and it immediately is over. It's just something so disappointing about that. Well, shit, I just wanted more. It's like, I wanted them to be deep in the round or something. It was so anticlimactic because it just happened so quick. But if that's what Justin said to you, Torres, I mean, he was right though. When he went for that throw, it was because he was the stronger person and he got the throw. It was just he got it so damn well that the momentum just carried him on over another rotation, and then you ended up in the wrong position. So I'm real, like you, Tim. I was like, I would really like for Craig to defend it. There's just something about, to me, it's like, God, why did we even have the title fight if you're just going to give it up? But I understand it. LFA, RFA, and all those. I mean, they were notorious. You win that title, it's like you might as well know you're giving it up because you're gone. You're going to the next level. And so I would love to see him because I think I know you well enough, Tim, that some matches out there still at this 155 amateur division that you could put on that would be amazing for him. But I get it and understand if he wants to go pro. I'm more interested in what Justin does now. If had he won the fight, I think he was, had that same aspect, that to go pro. I know he's not happy with the outcome, but is he happy enough with his performance up to that point to where he still feels like he can or should do it? Or did that detour him a little and he says, okay, one more? It'd be interesting, if you have a conversation with him here soon on what his plan is.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know as well. I would guess I've had some brief conversations with him since. I think he definitely is looking to shore his jiu-jitsu up. It sounds like maybe before making that leap. So I think we may see him with at least another 1 or 2 good, tough matchups as an amateur. Not talking for him. He may think otherwise, but I think he wants to just get, that one, that what he sees to be, his hole kind of filled in a little bit. And Lord, put some jiu-jitsu on Justin Jamar, and people got some problems, I guess. Okay, pro time. We're on to the pro fights. All right. We lost our first pro fight the night before. It was supposed to be Fred Friedman, Zach Hicks. Fred Friedman pulls out with some dehydration issues Friday night late. So unfortunately, that fight didn't happen. We had Zach Hicks up on this June card, it looks like. Moving on, it was a 185-pound fight. It was DeWitt Dixon getting a unanimous decision win over the more experienced Garrett Gross as the betting underdog. Gross comes into this as nearly 2-1 favorite. Cody Safdie on our show picks Garrett Gross as well. And DeWitt Dixon takes the unanimous decision 29-28 across the board. All three judges had the same. Me too. The first round was an absolute war. The round of the night, of the whole night. maybe even round of the year, dare I say. It was insane. But it was. But Garrett, it seemed like just kind of emptied the tank, really going for that finish in the first round. He wasn't able to get it. Yeah, Dixon really wobbled and stumbled, dropped him in the first round several times. But man, Dixon was able to dig deep, get the takedowns in the next 2 rounds. Second and third round were both very similar in that Dixon was able to get the takedown, get to top position, and then just ride out the rounds. Not a whole lot of damage done, but at that point, hey, you're 1-1. You're in there with a guy that's 12-10. You've lost the first round. You get the win anyway. You can get the win, so I can't hate on that a bit. Really nice performance from DeWitt Dixon, and Garrett Gross really put on a nice show for everybody in that first round. Just didn't quite have enough fuel in the tank to keep that pace. And that's why I was telling Jeff, it's like, there's no way in hell that they can keep this pace for 15 minutes. You can't. That's crazy talk. And it sure did slow down after that. But first round was awesome. I'll throw it out there to you guys. DeWitt Dixon moves to 2-1 at 185. Torres, I'm sure you were eyeballing that fight right there. And Garrett Gross drops to 12-11. Still a handful for anybody out there. I mean, I don't know if Gross settles into a journeyman type position at this point, but he'll certainly be a dangerous one. No matter anybody that he fights, he's going to have that danger factor because of, he's going for it out there, and still a very tough, skilled guy. I don't know the guy well enough to know, his diet and training and stuff like that. But 185, carrying around that extra weight and carrying around the opponent's extra weight, things like that. If you got a suspect gas tank, may be tough. Guys, I'll just put it out there for open discussion.
Well, I think we said it could be a round of the year. It could also be. It also included the sound bite of the year as well.
Yes.
Crab legs and threesomes, baby.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where this guy's career is going next, and I want to know what's next. And our all-time classic answer: crab legs and a threesome.
It's like somebody promised him that before the fight. If he won, he would get
yes,
that.
Absolutely. And again, we talk about marketing.
This is what's next. It's been promised.
We talk about marketing opportunities. Again, if someone doesn't do a crab legs and threesome t-shirt, they're missing the boat. In fact, Tim, I think we need to talk about this afterwards.
I know. I think it's a seller.
Yeah. So, to me, it's when you get rounds like round one, yes, it's entertaining, but to me, it also kind of tells a story sometimes that maybe those are guys that knew they didn't have the gas tank for the fight. So it's let's throw everything we have into this first round. You know what? I would almost liken it to the Warren Smith Greg Hopkins fight from Macon, where they threw everything but the kitchen sink in round one. In hopes of not having to go to a round two, and then when the shit doesn't work out, and your opponent's just as exhausted as you are, you find yourself in a damn round two or a round three, completely exhausted and gassed, and then it just does take just a little bit more from your opponent to completely ruin the night for you. Round two was just a rough round for Garrett Gross, and then I think it was just 7 seconds into round three when he just submitted. Submitted to that takedown with no resistance whatsoever. That was, to me, just a sign of pure exhaustion, to where I'm ready to get off my feet. I'll try to work something out from the ground, but there was nothing happening. And I'm like you. I just don't know where you go with the record. I don't. Also, like you, I don't know him personally, so I don't know what he's got going in life. What kind of his life situations are, to where is this important to him anymore, or does he have other irons in the fire that he has his attention focused on, work, job, career, family, things like that. But on the flip side, we have a very young career in DeWitt Dixon, or young record at 2-1, that he's got a lot of opportunities in front of him should he want to come back with us, like you said, namely the guy below your picture, Tim, who is in that same weight class and looking to stay busy. And DeWitt Dixon took this fight to the ground quite a bit, and I'm sure that's something that Mr. Finney would oblige. If he wants to take it to the ground, it'll just be a matter of what position Mr. Finney's in on the ground. If it gets there. So I don't know, man. I would love to see that one. If somehow I could shake a magic wand, Tim, and you'd call me and say, hey, I got something booked for the summer. Guess what it is? And if that was your answer, I'd be pretty happy with it.
Well, it's funny. Crazy cat. It is, I mean, hey, look, I would solely be down. You already know me. I don't decline no one. But he after the fight, he did ask me. He wanted to train with me. So I don't know. He wants to train with me. So
well,
I don't
know. Who wouldn't?
Oh man, but look. Overall for the fight, look. DeWitt Dixon coming out in that first round, like you said, 1-1 going against a 12-10 fighter. Man, I mean, so that's the first time I've seen Garrett fight in person. Obviously, I watched a lot of his fights on YouTube and stuff like that. Him training here at the gym. But Garrett Gross, man, I mean, he has that exciting style. I mean, it's more like I'm just gonna walk and I'm just gonna throw. And he threw so many combinations, man. I mean, oh my goodness. And DeWitt threw him back. And it was just slugging for slug. I mean, it was one time on the cage. It was like it was hit for a hit for a hit.
It's like a movie.
Yeah, and like the crowd was going nuts. And I'm sitting like, oh my goodness. But man, that was one of the like the craziest rounds I've ever seen. But yes, obviously coming out in the second, man, DeWitt, obviously he got opportunity coming forward, and they both were gassed, man. They both were they were tired, but DeWitt had enough in him. He had just a little bit more to do enough to get those takedowns. And once he got those takedowns, man, he stayed on top. I mean, he did not let Gary get up. I thought Gary would eventually be able to get up and maybe try to do something else. But man, DeWitt stayed on top and did some things. There was moments where even in the first round, I think DeWitt got a takedown and Garrett was able to explode up. He put him down. But man, it was as the fight prolonged, man, as the gas thing started to go for both of those guys, it was evident that that DeWitt just had a little bit more. But that was incredible first round. I mean,
I pulled a Torres. I stood up in my chair.
I did too.
I got up in my chair and stood up.
Yes, like when they were on the cage, like doing that, I got up with the headset. And I'm like, oh my goodness! I was going back and forth like I was fighting. I was like, oh my gosh!
I told you, Tim, we can never give Torres wireless headphones at commentary, or
he'll be running. He
will do a lap around the damn cage, or he'll run up into the crowd at the bleachers and back down. Thank God you're tethered.
All right, guys. Co-main event next. This one was lined as a pick'em. In all facets, the over under 2.5 was a pick'em. The fight winner was a pick'em. Pat Crumpton versus Will Banks. We were all very excited for this, and just another great fight, guys. It was Pat Crumpton getting that unanimous decision win, but that first round especially, it was neck and neck. Both guys putting the other in some very tough spots. Both guys persevering, and we ended up getting the unanimous decision for Pat Crumpton, who moves on to Pat's 5-1 now. Is that right? Yeah, 5-1. Banks drops to 3-3. Y'all out there, don't be sleeping on Will Banks at 3-3 still though, man. This guy's tough, man. He's good. And one of the most professional guys that I've had the pleasure to work with, honestly. He has his shit together. This is a real good fight. I thought that Crumpton showed some things that were questioned before. He answered some questions, I guess we said, going into this. We were like, well, what's going to happen if Pat just can't take his guy down so easy? Is there a plan B? This is another one Cody Safdie lost on, actually. Cody went 1-2 on these. Pat showed that he did have some striking. He did have the ground acumen to hang with a guy that maybe was a bit more physical than him. So I thought Pat also showed some grit and dug deep after there was one shot in the first round that was sounding like a baseball bat hitting like a pound of meat or something. Man, it was solid from Will Banks. Yeah. And Pat, like, he persevered. He came back from it. I know that he really probably wanted to get that finished because Will Banks had never been finished, and I think Will Banks probably at the same time had the same amount of resistance to being finished to keep that intact, if you will. We'll go around the open discussion, guys. Your thoughts on this co-main event? This one was another decision fight that was still a lot of fun. And Pat, actually, by the time the fight went off, though, Pat had been bet up to about a -150 favorite, so the money was coming in on Crumpton.
This is a hell of a fight, man. I think the first round, like you said, I think at the weigh-ins, he asked Pat if he was going to shoot, but I think 5-6 seconds in, he shot the first takedown. Will Banks did, but he landed a big shot. He landed a big right hand, then dropped straight into a double leg, hit that takedown, and we saw Pat on his back and saw him work back up to his feet. That was something maybe in his first or second fight, we've seen him on his back before, but not much. Usually when Pat's on the ground, he's on top. So in the first round, Will also, as they were getting up, Will Banks stuck a couple of deep guillotines in that had people questioning it, but Pat held out, stayed resilient, and the second and third round really took over. I think the grappling was just too much. Pat was just too technical everywhere. But like you said, Will Banks is a monster, and 3-3, somebody's got a tough test ahead of them when they sign the dotted line to fight Will Banks next.
That choke was super deep. It was very deep. I thought that he might get it too. And that this guy's arms have got to feel like fucking boa constrictors around your gullet. But that he was also working so hard for that. I mentioned at the time, it's like, if you don't get this, then he's going to be burnt. He might be burning out a little bit. That may have forced a little bit of quicker fatigue in those muscles early in the fight that may have come into play a little later in the fight.
Yeah, and he was not just a guillotine; he was cranking it too at the time. So it was like, is he going to choke it? Or is he going to crank it? But I will say too, we were sitting right next to Crumpton's corner, and he was listening to his corner very well. Every time that guillotine got in, and they were telling him, swim over with the right arm, slide it under. I mean, every time they told him to do it, he did it. And he was listening to his corner really well. And Pat, even today, I noticed on kind of a post-fight post on social media, he's the first one to say a lot of adversity in round one of this fight. He'll be the first to admit it, and he did. But like you said, Tim, we wondered if plan A doesn't work, does plan B? Pat was not afraid to stand there and throw, and he connected a lot of good shots. There was one moment in the fight I really thought he had done some damage with a knee in the fight to the head. I can't remember whether, in the clinch. I can't remember if Pat's back was to the cage or if Banks was. Yeah, Pat's back was to the cage, and he connected with a nice knee that dropped Banks, I believe, to his knee for a second momentarily. But man, just what a machine Pat Crumpton is, and we're watching this kid. He's not a kid; he's a man. But watching him grow from, the times we saw him as an amateur and back when. He would have brain farts at time in the cage, and wasn't sure if it was all going to come together. Man, it has come together, and what a force to reckon with. And like it says on the bout sheet, and Tim, we talked about, is this was a number one contender bout. So as soon as there's an opponent named, the next time Pat Crumpton fights in an Aries cage, it's going to be for a title, and rightfully so. And it sounds like they're not going to be real picky on who it is, because they want to elevate the competition every fight to get to the next level. So he is going to welcome a challenge. This was definitely a challenge, and it was a step up from the fight before. And so I can only imagine what we come up with for his next fight.
Yeah, I agree. Pat Crumpton looked really good in that fight, man. He really took it to Will Banks. That was a really good performance by Pat, and hey, I'm excited to see the future of Pat Crumpton.
Main event. This is what most of them were there for. They're pretty rowdy. The Trevor
a few
Peake fans. Yeah, Trevor Peake, the reigning and defending Aries welterweight professional champion, comes in and gets the first round knockout over the Venom Assassin Warren Smith, about a minute 48 or 50, something like that. And this one, it was at a fever pitch. Trevor, when he enters the cage, there's like a switch that flips, and he becomes like this primal beast type entity. And man, he feeds off of that crowd. He feeds off that emotion, and look who it is. What's
I brought Finny a chicken tender.
Oh, he brought me a chicken tender.
Oh, wow.
Did he already have a?
It looks like it is eaten off of.
Yeah, he just had a bite taken out of it. Right.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, early in the round, Warren actually was able to land a couple decent strikes there on Trevor. He had Trevor, moving around versus actually bulldogging forward for a moment. But there were some very vicious leg kicks. There was a leg kick battle between those guys they were both landing some real heavy ones. Ultimately, though, at almost the 2-minute mark, Trevor able to drop him with a big overhand right. It was like the Ric Flair flop kind of knockout, and Warren went down, and it was Trevor moving on now to 5-0, another first round knockout. The crowd goes wild, and man, just sky's the limit for this dude. I can't say enough about him. Warren Smith, ever the professional as always. Always live, and congrats to him and his woman. They're expecting a baby soon, so y'all send out some good vibes to Warren and his woman there. She's real close, it sounds like.
And thank you for not having it this weekend.
Thank you for not coming this. Yeah, we owe that kid a birthday present whenever it does come, because she was having Braxton Hicks contractions on the way to weigh-ins. We're like, please hold off for us just till we get through this weekend. So thank you, young junior Warren Smith out there, whenever you arrive. Guys, we'll open it up.
Well, man, Trevor Peake, man, hey, it is what it is. The man came and he performed. It's an honor to watch him put on the show, I'll tell you that much. To be able to see him, the way he performed, the way he walks down with the kids, how the crowd was, how he got on the knee to look at Warren Smith face to face. Then when Jeff Hobb called his name, he does his little twirl and come back in the face of Warren Smith. I mean, my goodness, he know how to put on the show. And Trevor Peake, man, good Lord, man. That's a bad mama jumper right there, boy. Woo, woo. That is one bad man. And I look, it won't be long before he gets his call. I can just go on and tell you that now. He's right there. He's at the tip of the iceberg. He's right there.
He's a professional every sense of the word. That guy is one of the easiest guys to deal with, work with in advance, promotes his fights, takes care of his sponsors, and dresses the part. Tell you what, Trevor's our professional champion, and he's our professional champion when he arrives, because he's suited up, he dresses to the nines, he's got the ties, the suspenders, looking sharp. So I like seeing that in a professional champion.
Yes, sir.
Trevor's an absolute monster, man. From everything from marketing to his inspirational speeches to the way he comes out there and just provides ultimate violence. The guy wants to take your head off from the time the thing starts. I'm happy for him just on a personal level, because you've seen the growth of Trevor too over the years, and you've seen him go through some adversity, and but just a hard working guy. He's what you want to see in a champion, in my opinion.
It's a show, and there's not. I don't have a lot to say about the fight. It is what it is. I said it after it was over. It's just Trevor Peake doing Trevor Peake things, and that's from start to finish, putting on a show for everybody, doing all the right things, saying all the right things, and backing it up, and giving those people that spend their hard-working money exactly what they want. And if they came to see Trevor Peake knock somebody out, then that's what he wants to give them. So he's giving everybody what they want. He gives his fans what they want. He gives the promotion what they want. By being a professional and selling tickets, marketing the show, marketing himself. So he's going places. He's got great management right now who have, a beautiful blueprint for the kid. I'm going to hate to see him go when he does, but I don't think we're there yet because I don't think it's part of the plan yet. So I think, we're going to be lucky enough to see, Trevor maybe at least one more time on the regional scene, because him and his team want to do it the right way, exactly the way that they have it planned. So we can hope that includes us, in the future. We don't know, but we hope it does. And again, even when the camera's freaking off, it's not just a show. When the camera's off, he goes and gives his belt to, a kid in the crowd. I think I saw him today because, he's posted up pictures online. He's proud of that belt. He got, I think, Torres, do you know his last name is Ash, maybe?
Yeah, Matt Ash.
Matt Ash,
he's
yeah.
from the Lafayette area. Yes.
Yeah, so, he gives his belt away and then comes to us and says, hey, keep $300 out of my purse and just buy me a new one. I just gave mine away, and, I just made this kid's, month, man. So it's good shit, man. The fight is what it is. Like I said, the guy's got an IQ for violence. It's almost sadistic, what he's willing to do in the cage. He doesn't punch you. You hear coaches in the past when they're saying punch through somebody, because a lot of guys just punch you and punch at you to touch you. He took it literally at some point when someone told him, no, you got to try to punch, act like you're punching through them. Imagine you're punching through them. He took it literally because he's trying to. But it's not just power, guys. It's combinations. It's not just brute strength and animal shots that he's throwing.
Oh, there's some trickery.
There's fucking setups there, y'all. There's setups and there's beautiful combinations. And you saw again after the fight. Yeah,
and they're clean too.
And they're precise, and they're not just willy-nilly because it's a set of numbers. Let's go 3-2. No, he knows exactly why he's throwing them. He doesn't care what the number. He just knows. I've seen it. I watched tape. I'm going left to the body. I'm coming over the top with the right. He knows what the hell he's doing. And you saw, again, doing the right things. When the fight was over and we're celebrating, and Agogi's with them, he says, hell no, we're not taking this picture till Jeff Powell comes in here too, because I'm not leaving Jeff behind because he's a huge part of my success too. He doesn't forget anybody. That's what's crazy about the kid. He doesn't forget anybody. If you gave him $100 sponsorship or you gave him $1,000 sponsorship, you get the same thing from Trevor. You get the same love. You get the same thing from him. He gives that $100 sponsor the same attention that he does $1,000 sponsor. And he gives the guy who helped him with the striking 5 years ago the same love that it gives him today. Nothing's changed. So, man, what a way to end the show.
Yeah, the crowd definitely goes home happy. We go home happy. How can we not be proud of that show? Not to toot our own horns, but toot motherfuckers. That was hopefully that was our coming out party, guys. I think we kind of set the benchmark at this point where it's like, oh man, all right, what are we gonna do next time? Hopefully we can top it, and maybe we will. There's some talks about some crazy shit going down in Chattanooga in June. Hopefully we can announce some of that stuff next week when we join you guys. We appreciate y'all sitting in for this special recap edition of the 0 Hour. We will be back with some fighter focus interviews coming up for May 7th card. That's the next show, all amateur show with the Joe. Cotton Eye Joe, Knoxville, Tennessee. That'll be May the 6th. Zane Burton versus Adam Sylvia headlines that card. And somebody's must go on that evening. We saw him face off. We're excited for it, guys. One more time, give us a like, a subscribe, and spread the word on the channel, man. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We'll do something special. Jeff, can we do something special for somebody once we hit 1,000 subs? Somehow we'll figure out a way to give away some money or some shit.
Yeah, we'll give away something.
We'll give away something. Can we get some subs, guys? We need 1,000 subs. Anyway, once one more time for Torres V, Jeff Hobbs, Justin Watson, I'm Tim Lloyd, and this has been the Aries 6 recap on the 0 Hour. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.